We move on. Deputy Peadar Toibin and Deputy Kathleen Funchion are sharing 10 minutes. Is that correct? Deputy Funchion.
First, if that's okay. As somebody who has worked in the trade union movement up until elected to this House in February of this year, I welcome the bill and I'm welcoming the opportunity to speak on the matter. And just before I get into the content of what I was going to say, I believe that the Minister and the Fianna Fáil deputies really should reread the bill, because they clearly do not understand it from some of the, quite frankly, ridiculous statements that were made in relation to the bill. And I would also invite them to go and work with workers in this sector, or spend some time with people who have worked in the trade union movement, who know exactly what it's like for workers in this area. The issue of exploitation of workers on low-hour contracts is something which unfortunately has been on the increase. There are many situations where the contract hours of a worker do not reflect the reality of the hours that they actually work. This is most prevalent, as had already been stated, in the retail and services sector. However, it is also common practice within the private healthcare field, such as in private nursing homes. It's been also mentioned it happens that most of these areas of employment generally have a greater number of women working in the sector, so it is an issue that often has a greater negative effect on women. This has an impact on workers being able to plan their lives. Effectively, we're putting people into a limbo, a financial limbo, and a limbo on just planning the day-to-day reality of your life. If you have a contract for 15 hours, but you actually work 30 hours, if you go and try to get a mortgage, you'll be denied. If you go to your credit union just to get a basic loan, there's a possibility you'll be denied. For a woman working in that situation, how are you supposed to plan your childcare? How are you supposed to be able to know whether or not you can afford childcare? As everybody knows, most of our systems are based, most of the childcare systems are based on you pay a set fee, that's it. So if you have uncertain hours, how exactly are you supposed to be able to cope with this reality? And it's these workers that the deputies in this House will be letting down by not supporting this legislation. This bill offers a solution to provide workers with the right, after 6 months of continuous employment, to request an increased weekly band of hours. And furthermore, the bill includes an obligation on the employer to inform all employees on the overall availability of working hours by displaying this information in a prominent place in the employment. I think this is an important point, because often we see in situations where there is a dispute, or possibly where somebody is very active in their trade union, the employer will use this against workers. And if this bill got passed and they actually had to display the available hours, it would combat this. And I really just wanted to make that point again, that a lot of the information that's been said by, unfortunately, both sides, by the Minister and by the deputies in Fianna Fáil, is incorrect in relation to it. And there's people here who have worked in this area who do know what they're talking about in relation to this. And I would urge people not to look at it from a political point of view. Do the right thing by workers. There's no point in going down to the picket line and getting into a picture for your social media if you're not going to actually, put your words into action. We really do need to support low-paid workers, and it's the only way to get our economy back on track as well, by supporting people in employment, and particularly women. We hear an awful lot of talk about women's rights and how do we encourage more women in general into public life or into different positions. We're certainly not going to do it if we treat them like this, where it's nearly impossible to access employment or access proper childcare. So I would just again, urge the Minister and deputies to please support this bill.
Thank you very much, Deputy Toibin.
Míle buíochas ceann cóir agus bhfuilm míle buíochas a gháil an teacht to David Cullinan as an billa ionach seo ailsiú. Under the Labour Party and Fine Gael's watch, low pay and insecure contracts have become part and parcel to the labour market, leaving families unable to make ends meet. And nearly 20% of people signing on are in part-time casual work, and underemployment remains unacceptably high. And I don't believe that the Minister or the Government actually understand what it means to be in this economic position. This is not a theoretical challenge to these families at all. Tens of thousands of families, it means poverty. It means families going hungry. It means exploitation. And it means a volatile, insecure family life. Now, there are in-work social protections, such as the family income support, and these are vital to ensure that families can put food on the table and keep a roof over their head. But these supports are being given to people working for massively profitable businesses. They are actual fact subsidies to these businesses because they don't pay or employ their staff properly. And the recent Dunnes Stores dispute illustrates with great clarity why there is an immediate necessity for this type of legislation. Despite the company's healthy profits, management have shirked their responsibilities to employees by widespread use of short-hour contracts. And as a consequence, employees don't know from week to week what shifts they'll have and what income they'll earn. And it's impossible to reconcile that practice with a modern, progressive economy. Casualised, insecure work is also bad for business, and that's the flip side of it. It means that decent employers who go in competition with Dunnes Stores are unable to compete properly because they're offering proper, decent contracts to their workers. And they're undermined by companies such as that flouting workers' rights. This bill is not rocket science. It doesn't ask for much. It simply states that the government should put good practice into law. And we've seen mandate work on behalf of a number of companies and a number of staff units with companies in putting into place systems such as this, so people can simply develop a contract that reflects the types of hours that they actually work themselves. I was hoping that I would see the two great leaders of the workers' revolution here, Deputy Halligan and Deputy Fine McGrath, that would use their enormous intellect to impact on their Fine Gael comrades to support in this bill. I understand when this bill came before the House over a year ago, they were supportive of the bill, so I understand that they're very interested in consistent voting patterns recently as well, and that they'll hopefully support this bill. But I suppose if the Labour Party could not steer Fine Gael to the path of righteousness, then it's going to be difficult for the independent all sorts to do the same. And I heard the Labour Party talk about this particular bill. When they were in power and they brought similar bills or pieces of legislation in front of the Dáil, myself and Deputy Cullinan at every stage made efforts to bring about amendments so that we could ameliorate some of the difficulties with zero-hour contracts and low-hour contracts. And at every single point, Jed Nash, on behalf of the Labour Party, refused to allow those go through. And I remember standing in front of him about a year ago, pleading that this was his last opportunity to fix this, probably for the rest of his political life. And at that stage, he refused to do it. So the Labour Party are a different party in government than they are outside of government, clearly. And it's also interesting that we have the Fianna Fáil, the regional party. They comment on what's happening in the north of Ireland, but they refuse to stand in the north to represent Irish people in that part of the country. And just to put Deputy Collins straight, just this last February, my colleague Phil Flanagan, MLA, during the passage of the employment bill in the north, took the opportunity to address zero-hour contracts and tabled amendments on this issue, which would prohibit the use of zero-hour contracts in the north. But unfortunately, those amendments were not accepted by the minister in question from the Alliance Party, Stephen Farry. And it's also interesting that Deputy Collins, just a few minutes ago, stood in the chamber and said that he had supported the unions for the Fianna Fáil stance. But we have been just contacted by ICTU, who would like the record actually amended to say that Fianna Fáil have no such basis for their claim whatsoever, and that Deputy Collins will receive a letter from ICTU in the morning to set him straight. And I would ask Deputy Collins to bring that letter to the floor of this chamber tomorrow so that the record can be corrected properly. I'm shocked that the Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael cartel are kicking this type of legislation down the road. We already have the Tomorrow Taoiseach and the Minister for Procrastination, but now Fianna Fáil want to turn the Department of Enterprise into the Department of Strategic Dithering. Gur maith agat.
Thank you very